I'm hoping that maybe, soon when Taimur gets older, maybe we can think about an engagement or marriage. You are talentless, we don't want you. And I was like, you know what? I totally understand where you're coming from. Thank you, bye-bye. People always like to backpedal, but you need to be smart enough to filter through those people and know who had your back from day one and who believed in you from day one. Coming to India, despite not knowing anybody, despite not having friends or family here, and even my mom screaming at me on the phone saying, are you crazy? You can't travel alone and all that stuff. I had to combat the simple stereotype of girls cannot travel alone unless they're married, and there was a very conservative type of mentality. Oh, it's a good question. It's mixed emotions, so many emotions that rush through my head. I feel a lot of happiness. I feel motivation to do more because you see it happening, you see the results happening, so it gives you that drive to keep moving forward. I also feel a sense of excitement because I know that somewhere this will be someone else's inspiration. Well, it must be the stereotyping. I think that is very complicated to maneuver because I've had many people who try to get me into a film or a song and convince filmmakers to trust my skill, but it never happened until I spoke up for myself.
Right.
And then once you've convinced them, when you land up on set, you need to convince them with your skill. And I'm sure you know, Karina, how many types of stereotypes there are. There isn't just one. There's a million, so it's how
course.
many do you break through? I have to convince a filmmaker that I can act or I can dance or I'm serious about my craft. And there are a lot of filmmakers who are educated enough to understand that let's give this person a chance. If they cannot perform, then it's okay, we can judge her on that aspect. And then there are filmmakers that I had to, really fight through in the last 6 years who unfortunately are very stuck up on typecasting and stereotyping. But one thing, Karina, I feel that in this industry there was a lot of typecasting that was happening a long time ago, but we're breaking through that. Let me tell you. There are some people in the journey who come along and really bring you down and they make you feel like you are not capable and that you're nothing. And when you do become something, they like to creep back and say, hey, I always knew you could do it. And, sorry about that thing I said. I was tipsy or I was this. No, listen, people always like to backpedal, but you need to be smart enough to filter through those people and know who had your back from day one and who believed in you from day one, and you need to keep those people around you. What I like the most is that with the success came a lot of respect, which I was craving for. The things that were said a few years ago, they're not said anymore. I can't say names, but I can say one thing. There was one casting director that I met in the first few months that I came to India, and she almost made me feel like packing my bags and leaving.
Oh God, what did she tell you? That you're never going to make it?
She said to me that there's too many people like you here and our industry is sick and tired of people like you and we don't want you anymore. She was screaming at me. She was shouting, we don't want you anymore and you are talentless. We don't want you. And I was like, you know what? I totally understand where you're coming from. Thank you. Bye-bye. And I just left and I cried so much. And I didn't ask for it because that casting director called me. I didn't even know who she was. She called me to her house and she sat me down just to scream at me. And I was new in the country, so I was like, is this what everyone does here? They just call people to scream at them.
Oh, God.
So maybe what she said to me and how she said it, maybe low-key was like a driving force. You never know.
Yeah, it kind of pushed you.
It kind of pushed me, definitely. But of course, I feel like when you take the stairs up, it is much better than taking the elevator up because the elevator, the lift could break in out of nowhere and you can get stuck.
Right.
And you can't get out. At least with the stairs, dhire you go up and you encounter certain things and you solve those problems.
Right.
Learning the language is very, very important. I have met a lot of artists, Karina, who are not from here, who didn't care about the language. But I didn't respect that. I think that if you come to someone's country, you need to assimilate and you need to learn. My run in the last 5 years have been constant auditioning, constant breaking my back to kill an audition for a film or a show or an ad or a song. And every time that rejection happens, where I'm like, no, I'm almost 100% sure I'm going to do this, I'm going to get it. And when the rejection happens, I would break and I would think, that's it, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen, it can't happen. Also, when you start hearing that conversation of, nepotism and industry people and outsiders, when that conversation happens, and tends to happen a lot, it intimidates people like me, because you keep thinking, you keep getting reminded of something that you're trying to forget. When you're hustling, you don't want to remember all these things. You just want to think about, I'll put the effort, I'll do my part, and hopefully if it's destined for me, it will happen. And also, I think that I was so hungry that no matter how many failures I went through, I always said, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Maybe I didn't get this film, or maybe I didn't get this show because it wasn't good for me. And maybe something better is coming. So I trained myself mentally to think that. And I think every artist needs to believe that, because it's so funny. A lot of the things I didn't get that I cried about, they ended up being bad projects anyway. So,
Yeah,
so I end up saying thank
it
you,
was a
God.
win-win.
Yeah.